Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. Thank you very much for joining me. We are heading to Vietnam for today's episode, where we're talking to Rob, who runs the Saigon Gators basketball program. So this is a sports special, and it's also a 1 year on special because around about a year ago, I spoke to Rob in episode 4 of Talking Business, and now we're much further along the line, and Rob has very kindly offered to talk to us again. So we'll talk about some of the differences and the things that have happened over the last year, as well as what's going on with the growth and development of the Saigon Gators basketball program that Rob runs. So here we go. Let's talk business with Rob. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business. We're going international today. We're heading all the way over to Vietnam and chatting to Rob. So, Rob, how are you today?
Good. It's nice to be out in the sun. A bit shady right now, but it's nice break.
No, it looks
talk to you, talk some business.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, we're 8 o'clock in the morning here. What are you up to there? What time are you at over there in Vietnam?
2 p.m. out here right now. It's on 2 p.m. anyway.
Right,
that's 6 hours ahead of you guys.
Peak time of day, weather's kicking in, nice and hot and everything, and you're sitting almost on a beach chatting to me. So I appreciate that. I do appreciate it. So let's kick off then. For people who don't know you, who is Rob?
Oh God, that's
question, man.
It is a big question to start with. Geez, I'm on vacation here, pal. Day job. I'm head of PE of an international school. Other than that, I run a basketball academy, Saigon Gators basketball over in Vietnam, dealing with players now from the age of under 9 all the way through to professional players. Hopefully this week we have multiple players going pro in the VBA draft. Potentially 3-4 of them could be drafted. Definitely 2 of them, 100% will go to good franchises and they're going to have very good careers. So it's a whole myriad of abilities and age groups that I deal with.
Brilliant. So you're managing a basketball program. So you've been in Vietnam for 4
years. 4 years, yeah.
So what was that program like when you got there? Did it even exist?
No, it's literally my baby. It is. I started it from scratch on my own. In all honesty, I've actually had no help with it. I've never hired an assistant coach. I've never even looked to. I've done it all for my own back on it.
Wow. So you've gone to Vietnam. Obviously, you're from England, and you've gone there. You've got the passion for basketball. Is that right? Would that be fair to say you've got a passion?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So, how long have you been a basketball fan then?
20 years now. That's going on for. I was 13, so yeah, 33 now. 20 years.
Wow. Why so passionate about basketball? I mean, I'm as many people know, I'm a football guy, American football guy. So why is basketball your number one kind of passion?
I think genuinely it's probably the first sport I just picked up the ball, and I was good at it. I had no practice, no training. It just seemed to click. It's like instantly, and then the more it just clicked, the more I wanted to do it, the better I wanted to get, and then. I was 13. I was playing against 19-year-olds, just challenging myself. I'd be the worst player on the court, and yet it wouldn't bother me. I wanted to be the worst player on the court, and it's something I preach to the kids now. Is that if you're the best player on that court, you don't belong on that court anymore. Go find somewhere else where you are going to be the worst player, where you're going to have to improve. You've got to push yourself. I can thank a guy in London right now. He used to play down at Park with me when I was 13. He won't remember it. His name's Tarian Algar. He's currently the GB over 40s Masters. The captain, him crossing me up on that park that day, it was probably the moment where I went, I love this game. I'm getting crossed up's not nice. The equivalent of somebody catching a one like an Odell Beckham Jr. on a cornerback. Right. You don't want to be that guy. Yeah. But it fired me up. I've never said it to him. I've not seen him ever since. But I will never forget that moment.
Wow.
It showed me how far I actually had to come.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's a real crossroads, isn't it? When it comes to sport or even life in general, you do something, essentially you get beat at it. It's a very competitive world out here. We can talk about basketball, or you want to talk about your social media channel, or whatever you want to do. You come to those crossroads where you think, wow, I got beat there. So you go, nah, this isn't for me. Or you go your route. And I don't know if dedicate your life to it, but certainly it becomes such a massive part of your life. But, Rob without basketball doesn't really kind of compute, does it?
No, it really doesn't. And my own playing time's really gone down over the last couple of years. I've been more interested in giving back to the game and giving back to the kids and giving them sharing the expertise and experiences that I've had. I've been blessed to have some very good coaches. I've been around some very good coaches and some very, very good players. And they've shared their bits with me. And for me, it's giving it back to them now and seeing them what they can do with it. Because the game's not the same as it was 10 years ago. It's a completely different game. The game I played at their age is nothing like the game today. So I can't relate to them in that sense. But I can relate to, I've been down by 12 points going into a fourth quarter. What do I need to do? Okay, I've had a really bad game. I don't feel right going into my next one. What do I need to do? They're the things that don't change. You know, sharing that is probably the best part of the game right now for me.
Yeah. And without meaning to get too deep, I mean, you can literally be changing lives then with what you're doing. You know, some people might go, oh, as a basketball coach, oh, that's nice. But you know, with the program you've set up, you are literally changing people's lives, young people's lives when it comes to basketball. Do you look at it like that?
I didn't, and then from talking to other coaches and hearing what they've said about the program and about some of the players I've had for the last 4 years and where they've gone on to and how some of them have graduated from the program, they've gone on to play with like high level skills trainers elsewhere, and just get them to the point where they can go off and do that. Yeah, it is impacting their lives. Like for one of my players who will be getting drafted on Wednesday, so in 48 hours time, he did change his life. He was going to go over to London for university, go to King's College London, but COVID put play to it. But he was getting onto National League programs back home for us. So back in England, for a Vietnamese kid to be able to access a National League program and for coaches to know of him, having seen his mixtape, having seen his highlights that he got with us, I think I can kind of see it now. It does impact lives.
Yeah,
it's just the fact that they all refer to themselves as family as well. Like it's not, they're not players, they're not team members, they're not clients per se. They're actually family.
Yeah,
they're an extension of my family, these kids.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, we see, or in general, we see these big documentaries, don't we? We see the all or nothing shows, and we see, you know, the people who have already made it, and the people at the top and everything. And unless you're going to really dig deep into, say, the amateur game, even at, you know, at your level, even Last Chance U and stuff like that on Netflix, you know, to get to these points where you can get these opportunities can be really, really difficult. So it's great that people like you know, are out there really making a difference to these people. So, I mean, you said get drafted then. I mean, we presume that, you know, when we hear the word draft, I mean, in my head goes to the NFL and you're talking the best of the best and things like this. Yep. So, I mean, how does the draft work then in terms of Vietnamese basketball over there?
Exactly the same way as it would in the NFL.
Okay.
There was a combine this last weekend. Combine was yesterday, actually, in Ho Chi Minh City. Combine's finished. Teams draft on Wednesday. 3 rounds of draft picks, 7 picks per round, so 21 picks total. All 7 franchises have the right to draft a player in it. So,
wow! So
the best of the best that have entered.
Brilliant. And then, so the students who get drafted then, so what's the game like in Vietnam then? Have we got like teams in different cities, or are we talking building up to a national team to play in Olympics? I mean, for people who don't know, what's the kind of general feel of, well, there's basketball in Vietnam? How does that work?
There's 7 franchises, so they're full franchises. One of them's owned by one of the major shareholders in that franchise owns Los Angeles Football Club in the MLS. Mm-hmm. So there is big money behind it in that sense. There is a national team. The national team's actually entering the league this year to prepare for the Southeast Asian Games. So there'll be 8 teams competing in it. So you have 1 in Da Nang, 2 in Ho Chi Minh City, 2 in Hanoi, 1 in Can Tho, and 1 in Nha Trang. So spread across the country. The level of basketball in honesty has increased significantly over the last 4 years. Just the level of expertise coming from all over the world, particularly from America, and the skills coaches that have been in the game in the region, really leveled up the game so fast. The kids, I'm saying this next generation coming through, they're going to change the game in 5-10 years' time. It'll be a completely different system. We have a Harvard graduate playing in the league in Christian Duzang versus Saigon Heat. His brother Johnny just went to the Final Four in the NCAA at March Madness. So there's levels to this game, and it's going up rapidly. Yeah. There's also lots of bugs here as well.
I can tell. I feel like I might join in as well, just so people think, you know, oh, it's fine. Whatever it is, it's affecting both of them. It must be a Zoom thing.
It's mosquitoes, but yeah.
God, you're putting yourself through some, you know, real kind of pressure here to chat to me. I really appreciate it, man.
Right. 34 degrees and dengue spreading mosquitoes. It's all good.
Oh my gosh! Just to record a half-hour interview for Talking Business with Danny Pardo. Oh my word! Thank you.
Well worth it for your channel.
Yeah,
Good
that's
channel.
I'm going to have to owe you something sometime. But so I mean, this basketball game is so what we're seeing now. Then we might not know about Vietnamese basketball right now, but if we were to do, we're doing a 1 year on, and obviously it's changed a lot since then with COVID and all that stuff. But in 5-10 years, Vietnamese basketball might be like, yeah, I know about that, because it does become, not necessarily a direct feeder league, but certainly something where people are getting recognised and people are playing it and they're passionate and they're good enough to play in the premier leagues in the world, and that's absolutely brilliant to hear. It's great. How does it feel to be a part of that, as somebody who played kind of pick up basketball as a kid and has watched games and been here and there? How does it feel to be like, wow, I helped that to kind of grow and happen?
It is actually a real privilege to know the impact that you can have. Even you might feel yourself as quite small. As you said earlier, it changes lives on it, and changing the game and I feel great responsibility for it. Like, we have to put out good quality. We have to generate the next the stream of players coming through. We have to keep leveling them up, and that's a big responsibility because people are trusting you with their kids. With it. For as much as we say amateur basketball's about having fun, there's a lot of the leagues we play in aren't amateur leagues per se. We play against professional teams. In the league we just finished about, let's say, 6 weeks ago, there was 2-3 professional teams in that league. Wow. With professionally fully paid players playing against our guys. So there's levels to it, and having your guys ready to play at that level, despite the fact you haven't got access to them all day like the pro teams have. You can't have them training 6 to 8 hours a day, as some of them do. They haven't got access to strength and conditioning just on tap like these pro teams. It's a big responsibility, and to be part of that is a massive, massive privilege. It's not something I don't take lightly at all.
No, I wouldn't have thought you would, knowing you like I do a little bit. So, I mean, this Saigon Gators basketball thing, then, as we kind of move forward towards that, let's go back a little bit to this last year. So this is about, it's not far from a year on from when we spoke last year, really. And I think in episode 3 or 4 or something like that, where, you were in Vietnam. It was kind of like April, May 2020, and COVID had just kind of started over here. We're in the first month or 2 of lockdowns and things like that. And when I remember speaking about in terms of basketball and how it can affect it, and we were saying, what should athletes and young people do if they still want to play sports? So has basketball kind of been massively affected over there because of COVID, or is it because it's the kind of sport you can practice on your own, but levels haven't really dropped that much in the past year?
If anything, I'd say even during lockdown, levels went up over here.
Yeah.
Oh, you need your ball and a little bit of space, and you can go work on your handle. You can work your dribble moves, but work on actual game like stuff. You don't need the rim for it. You don't need a basket. You can really go to work with no real equipment other than your ball. So if anything, I'd say the leveled up further.
Wow,
it was actually quite scary when we came back from it and saw some of the levels that people had gone up.
Yeah, and I think there's the presumption that everybody stopped doing everything. I mean, I know that was the case over here, but obviously, we can only a lot of people rely on the mainstream media, and everything stopped everywhere. So to hear that people have still been kind of and had that passion as well, that kind of that basketball for sports, to keep them going through it as almost maybe a mental thing as well. I mean, how much is sport and things helping with mental health and things for the students you teach? Do you see an impact on that, or do you see an impact for you that because you're involved in sports, mental health, and you're kind of happier with what you're doing?
You do see that they're a lot happier. The catharsis can't be underestimated. We get from sports, you have to go out there and actually bang on the court and just release that stress, that tension, anxiety. You can't put a price on that. You just can't. It's such a good job for improving your mental state. And you can see with the kids, like I've heard of stories from back home. I've heard about how it's affected kids. Just not having social interaction or having that outlet. Having that outlet is a massive difference. So we have had lockdowns. We probably had 12 weeks ago. We had a 3-4 week one. Yeah. It wasn't full lockdown, but things were stopped. Gyms were closed, but people still went out and did stuff. You could do it in the streets. I still have that outlet, and having that outlet is so important.
Yeah, and that's nice to hear as well, because I think we hear a lot of the generic bullet points of if you do A, B, and C, your mental health will improve. And that's easier said than done for a lot of us, you know. So to hear that, you know, you're somebody who's involved in the game and around the game and around the people playing the game, but it does actually make a difference to them. So I mean, you said we chatted briefly last week on social media, and we said that, or you were saying that you got a lot of stuff coming up with the Gators. You're going to do a lot of social media this week. So how are you using social media with regards to the Saigon Gators basketball team then? What do you do?
Social media for us needs actually a lot more work. Our old account was hacked back in September of last year, and we lost all of our followers, all of our previous stuff. There's a lot of work gone into that. It finally got to over the 1,000 follower mark on it. Lost it all, you know, like that. Click of a finger, it all gone. Everything, got all the posts, all the photos, all the videos, all the history, basically, of that first year and a bit of business just gone. So it went on the back burner for a little bit. Kind of stopped filming games as much, didn't really put much effort into social media. Just wanted to keep a close-knit group of people together and just get to work. And now it's time to take that next step forward. So social media this week is massively important, especially with the draft. So we've got highlight reels put together of each of our players that are in the draft, ready to drop as they get drafted. So to, you know, capitalize on the actual market, on the media attention that they're going to get from that. Should up the direct traffic to the YouTube channel, and then direct to Instagram, and then direct to our inbox for more players wanting to come sign up.
Brilliant.
Come be a part of that.
Fantastic. So when, you know, the big names, you know, in your team get drafted and people start searching for them and looking for them and thinking, well, who is this guy? You know, what's he done? Then they'll come back to you and kind of channel that, funnel that into them. Then they'll go, oh, what's this Saigon Gators basketball team? And then they'll work with you with regards to that. So is everybody in your team, the Saigon Gators, is everybody in your team linked to your school? Is this a link with the school where you work, or is this a separate thing? Because again, I think there's the belief that especially the American side of things, where you either go to that school and play for that school, or you don't play at all. Whereas, say, over here, if you've got your Sunday leagues of football, that's not affiliated with anything. It's just a group of people that's a certain club, that people are from everywhere. So what about your team, then? Are they all from your school, or are they from the local area?
Well, when it originally started, I started Gators as an outlet for the kids on my school team to play at a higher level, because they needed challenge and needed higher level competition than what they were getting in the school game. However, it's since gone to a point where I've got players from all over the place. I couldn't tell you where half I come from, to be honest. There's so many different international schools, or the schools across the city. It's become something bigger than what I actually expected it to have become, in that sense. It's nice because they're interacting with other kids from all over the place.
Yeah. Have you got many competitors in your local area? So in terms of like a radius, like a 10, 15 mile radius. So if we take like the British version, you know, our sports teams here at the college would play against local schools and colleges no more than, say, 10, 15 miles away, because there's so many of them. Have you got that level of competition there, or are you having to travel further for games?
I got level of competition all over pretty much on my doorstep. Within 10, 15 miles, let's say within 3-4 miles, there's academies all over the city, run by local pro players, run by overseas skills coaches, pro level coaches, you name it. There's so much competition there. So if you want a game, it's very easy to find. You haven't got to go far to look to find the smoke that you're after at that point. You can find it whenever. Just turn the corner, you'll find it. And there's a shared belief amongst all these coaches that we're there to get these kids to that pro level. These kids aren't coming to play to have fun. The fun basketball you can do anywhere. You can play that. These kids that are coming to us and coming to all these academies here, they're coming because they want to play pro. And from a young age, they're saying, I want to make it to that pro level, and they want you to show them the steps to get there. So we're not dealing with your Sunday league stuff here. If you compare it to England, we're talking, these are like national league level, junior, high level national league. We're talking. If you have to go back home on it, you have kids that genuinely walking through the door and going, I have to get to the pro level. Show me how to do it. And obviously, that's not that every kid doesn't make that level, and you've got to have them tough conversations with kids and be like, maybe your pro level might be a bit too much for you, but you can go on and do this. You can have a good college career, you can have a good university career. You could play at a high local league level if in an English context. You go play that there. However, actually, in terms of Vietnam, it's very achievable for a lot of them to make it to the pro game. They really do dedicate themselves to it and get in with the right programs and put the work in. That's the most important part. As long as they put the work in, they have a very good shot at it here. Because the league's just growing all the time, and it needs high quality players, and they're all at the right age for it.
That's brilliant. I mean, so with your competition then being so intense, I guess could be a word then. And even with all your background and things, I talk a lot to students about confidence and believing in yourself. And I hear a lot of advice about believe in yourself, do your thing. Have you ever felt, or do you ever get intimidated that you're going up against coaches who have kind of been there and done it in Vietnam, or their program's been around longer than 4 years? Do you ever feel that, or is that more of a driver that I'll show you how it's done?
I think at the start, I had this thing where I just wanted to go. I had to like, just prove myself. I think I wasn't proving it to them. I was trying to prove it to myself. I think I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I think I was going about the wrong way with it. Whereas now, I couldn't care less who I'm coaching against. I genuinely don't care. I don't care I couldn't care less what level they played at. At the end of the day, they're human. You know, they breathe the same air we do, eat the same food we do, drink the same water. I don't care. Yeah. I genuinely don't care. I'll give them the props. You know, I will never take anything away from them. You know, if you played and coached this level, you know, well done, awesome. Yeah, I won't mind picking your brain for 10 minutes, but you can't be intimidated by it. No. Yeah, that's the same. You want to transfer it to your business life, transfer it to your education or to your workplace. Like, just because somebody's a slightly higher rank than you doesn't mean anything. If anything, you look at it as a positive thing. If they're any good, go seek some advice from them. Go talk to them. You know, go ask them to show you the mistakes they made so you can avoid them. Being intimidated by them, you can't allow for it for yourself. It's not good for your mental health to do that.
No,
that's how you create inferiority complexes.
Yeah, you won't progress, will you? You know, if you hit that ceiling of, okay, well, this is as good as I'm ever going to be, then you know what kind of coach are you if you tell if you embody that as well, that you're trying to influence these students that you can achieve what you want to achieve, but you say, yeah, but I'm at my level now, this is as much as I'm doing. It doesn't really add up, does it? You know, you've got to kind of show that to the students as well. In terms of live games then and live crowds, then when you play basketball over there and live sports in Vietnam, what's going on with live sports then? Because this is something that's in flux a lot around the world, depending on the leagues and the people and the shall we say money involved. So what's the deal with live sports over in Vietnam at the moment?
Fully open for business. Fully open. If you go to a football, soccer game over here, you can pack the stadium out. Sit at the side of the pitch, drink as much beer as you want.
Wow!
In a live stadium, yeah, it's completely unaffected. We're open as usual. The border's not open, but the whole country, it's just normal. You wouldn't actually think COVID exists outside of wearing a face mask around outside occasionally.
Wow. Good grief. Yeah. So different to here then is the
massively
is the understatement of the day right here. So oh wow. So yeah, so to be able to actually go out and play sports and watch sports and for the students to watch and things like that, that's absolutely brilliant. So before we'll finish off with the Gators in a few minutes, but I wanted to just pick your brains a little bit in terms of what's going on in Europe at the moment and the European Super League, which I think a week ago, I don't even know if it had been announced. And then within the space of a week, it's announced, it's hyped, it's destroyed, it's keeping going. England said no, Spain says yes, and all these kind of things going on with that. I mean, I presume you've been following the, I don't know what words you debacle show.
Oh, definitely the debacle.
You know, I presume you've been following it. What's your take on it as somebody who loves his sports and especially the grassroots stuff? What's your take on all of this European Super League fun the last week?
You can tell where the influence came from it, can't you? You can tell if you look at the teams involved and who owns them teams and who the driving forces were. Take Real Madrid out of it, obviously, they've got the president over there, Florentino Perez. But look at your American-owned teams that are involved. The American leagues are closed shops. The franchise system, you can move your team as and when you want. You're not tied to your traditional grassroots. You want to move your team from Minnesota to Chicago, you could do. It causes uproar, but you could do it because you own the thing. That doesn't happen in English football or English soccer. It's not the done thing. It's just a greedy bunch of men in a room deciding, let's cut out everybody else in our own leagues, let the rich get richer, and anyone else falls by the wayside, it's just collateral damage. Yeah. But if you look at the way UEFA's tackled it, they pretty much pushed through their own Champions League plans under the blanket of that negative coverage the ESL got, and they pretty much got the same thing anyway. More games, more meaningless games, more TV money. Yeah. That's all it is. It's just money.
Yeah, TV money is a massive driver. You know, the NFL signed another deal a few months back, and you look at the figures involved in it and how they're sharing it all out and all those kind of things. And the money, you know, it's a business, and you have to. There's no escaping that fact. And when I saw the ESL get announced, I immediately thought, and I didn't read much about it. I just saw the teams in it and saw that, you know, you can't get relegated or promoted, etc., etc. I just thought, oh, well, that's American.
Yep.
And that's why, you know, chatting to some of the students who were up for, and I was just like, well, that's how they do it in America. And you know, if you haven't followed American sports, that would be quite strange to you. If you've only ever watched like the English games, this idea of promotion relegation is just you grow up with it. But in America, it doesn't matter if you go, you know, in the NFL, if you don't win a game for 2 or 3 years, you're still going to be playing. You know, you might go somewhere else where there's a bit more cash. You're still going to be playing. You're not going to be knocking down 3 or 4 leagues and playing in different stadiums, you know. So that was fascinating to see kind of the cultural differences that came from the European Super League. But yeah, a lot of the students here very angry about it. You know, I mean, and you know our students here. You know, we don't really follow the local teams. We follow the big teams for students too. But even they just couldn't quite fathom how the owners could just push through such a money laden way of developing a league. What do you think will happen with that?
It'll get revisited in 5-10 years time. It'll happen eventually. This new Champions League format's pretty much like a halfway house between it anyway. Obviously there's relegation, not relegation but you can't qualify if you don't do it in your domestic league, but there's that caveat now, isn't there, that it was up to 3 teams can qualify for it, even if you don't qualify through your league, but based on your previous history in the competition. So it's not a meritocracy in that sense. Yeah. Really. Did you see the American coverage of the ESL? They all loved it. Yeah. They all thought it was a fantastic idea. They thought it was brilliant. They couldn't understand why everyone was protesting.
Exactly, because it's such a way of life, and it's like, but it brings in more money. It broadens the global market. You're playing games all over the world. You know, America gets to see a few games in person and things like that. So yeah, it was fascinating to watch the confusion of why don't they like it.
Why are they protesting? Like, why are they? Do they not want to be rich? That's pretty much what the American coverage said. Like, do they not want the money?
Yeah.
Like, even over this side of the world, quite a lot of them don't understand why it's been such an uproar, because they don't have the clubs with the tradition that we have. If you look at the founding members of the Football Association, your Aston Villas, your Preston North Ends, Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn Rovers, Everton, deep history. You've got clubs out in this side of the world that maybe have existed for 2-3 years. There's no history, no tradition. They're not being brought up on it. They haven't had the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs and their dad taking them off to a game, standing on the terraces in the freezing cold. It doesn't exist. That doesn't even happen in America. You don't do away fans in America. It doesn't exist. But who's the TV market that the Premier League clubs want to aim for? It's here. Yeah. It's this side of the world. Look at the kickoff. The 12 noon kickoff in England is a 6 p.m. primetime kickoff here. Who's the sleeve sponsor for Leicester City in the Premier League right now? Beer Saigon. A beer from Ho Chi Minh City here in Vietnam. One of the cheapest beers you can buy, by the way, probably about 25,000 dong, less than £1.
Right.
It is. You sponsor the Premier League team because it was the biggest TV market from. It's Asia.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't buy it in England.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where you've seen almost like the NFL as well, where make their 8 rows when they came to London and the games were at certain times, and now the games are at times to match the London market and to squeeze in another game on a Sunday because then you can get more advertising revenue because more people are watching it. You know, and it's that doesn't sound like a big deal, but having games at different times, like when the Premier League started, wasn't it, decades ago? You know, it was games at different times, and then when Monday Night Football started, because well, it works in America, you know, now it's worked over here, and it's becoming way of life. But you are talking generational. You know, you're talking families and families and families of grandfathers and grandmothers and things who would watch the games and attend the games, and it's a very different world to you know what we see globally, especially in America, which it is a business. I mean, you know, and who am I to argue?
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. It is a business.
Yeah, I'm still buying T-shirts. I'm still watching the games. Yep. You know, I'm not complaining about that. You know, I'm still any one of my videos. Every like 5 videos or so, I've found some excuse to put a jersey behind me. So you know, it's not like I'm saying that's a terrible way of doing things. It's just globally, you know, we talk about we're all one global world. We're all connected. We all have the same feelings and desires. Well, maybe not when it comes to sport. You know, maybe
not at all.
Maybe we mix
not at all. And you've seen it this week.
Yeah.
You saw it last week.
Yeah.
Just doesn't exist.
It's so
Tradition.
it's fascinating to watch. It's fascinating. Will the Olympics go ahead? Because I mean, we got the Commonwealth Games next year, and if the Olympics don't go ahead and training schedules are messed up, then in Birmingham, will we be getting the Commonwealth Games? So, and I hope we will. It's going to be great for Birmingham when it happens, and I really hope it does. But I mean, what's your take on the Olympics with regards to whether that's going to happen or not?
Haven't Tokyo just had another massive spike in cases as well?
Yes.
Recently, it's looking unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if it does go ahead, there'll be no sport.
New lockdowns, new restrictions in place, and we're now 2 or 3 months away from it. Kind of the ceremonies. So I mean, what's the feel over there? Are you feeling that yay, nay, really close shop?
The thing is, in terms of Vietnam, I think they've maybe sent 2 or 3 athletes to the Olympics from each games. So in terms of coverage over here, it's almost non-existent. Yeah. It'll be shown, obviously when it happens at the time, it'll be shown live if it happens, but it's not something that receives much press coverage over here. They try to publicise their athletes at the level they're at, which is the Southeast Asian Games. That's about the level in all their sports that they can really contend at. So going up against the big boys, your Japans, your Chinas, not a chance. There's levels to everything, though.
Yeah. It's fascinating to hear your views and your opinions on all these things. And let's circle back to like the Saigon Gators then, and what you've been up to the last 4 years, from not existing to now putting players into the draft. I mean, what's next for Saigon Gators then? What are your next goals? I mean, when does your next season start? When are you recruiting? Do you have a 5-year plan? I mean, what's next for you and the Saigon Gators?
A lot of our plans got put on hold with COVID, with that first outbreak of it. So it's kind of, we've had to actually circle back and try to get back on track with them. So it's now about starting under 9 and under 11s program, just to get them playing from a younger age, of which that's not going to be about getting them to the pro level. I've got to separate the two things here. You've got your pro level stuff, or kids that want to get to the pro level and want to compete at that level. Then I want to get to a point where you can have kids that genuinely do want to come and just play for fun. At that young age, just discover a love for the game. So that's the next big thing. The launch under 9s and under 11s program on May 15th. So not too long now, actually. It's less than 2 weeks away. Yeah. It is. Or I think almost less than 2 weeks away. It's going to be a lot of big work's going to have to go into that. It's going to have to be coached differently. It's getting used to coaching for fun again, instead of coaching for a purpose, in terms of you have to learn this skill and this technique to be able to do this. It's got to be now more about, it's just fun. Yeah. How do I get the most amount of kids to enjoy this game and develop a passion for it that they then might eventually want to filter through the systems with?
Yeah. And that must be a fun challenge. Thing. That must be a fun challenge for you as an individual then, because you're still Coach Rob, but what you do for the older students compared to the younger students, you're going to have to change maybe your personality or things, maybe keep the same things in terms of the passion. But do you see that as a challenge, or you're really excited about that kind of next step?
I'm excited for it, because I think it's a completely pressureless environment, that one. That's just kids having fun and genuinely just find out why you enjoy this game and just have fun. I just want them playing games. I want them touching the ball. You see too much of it, particularly like over here in other sports. I'll give you an example of football. You see a lot of land drills, a lot of dribbling around cones, a lot of standing around waiting for your turn. Gators has never been about that, and it never will be. But especially for the younger ones, it's going to be, how much time can you get on that basketball? And everyone's got a ball in their hand. They're all going to be bouncing. They're all going to be shooting. There's been no waiting around. Just get them to enjoy and get used to having that ball in their hand. Have fun. Make some friends while they're at it. I want it to be a mixing pot of just kids from all over. I want it to be local kids that might not even speak English, but they've got a friend in there that speaks English that can translate for them. Just get them surrounded in a different environment. It will be a challenge. I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't be, because getting out of that, I've been in that mindset now for quite some time, where it's business. Getting it back into just pure fun, that will be challenging. Yeah. But it'll be good for my own growth.
Yeah, again, personal growth, such a massive thing of you and your personality and everything you've done. You could have a very nice, steady, stable job teaching PE, pretty much anywhere you like. You're like, no, I'm going to go to Vietnam. I'm going to coach basketball. I'm going to develop this team. That personal kind of level. It's just, people must be going, why doesn't he just teach and get like 6 weeks off in the summer? You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously,
very few people understand it. Seriously, very few people understand why I do what I do with this. I have colleagues who'd be like, you could be, as I am now, for the first time in 2 years by a beach.
yeah.
Like, you could be like that every weekend. And they're like, you have a long day at work, and I'll go out and train somewhere. I'll have to get so what we have instead of we have a grab. I have to grab somewhere, probably 20, 30 minutes away on a night after a full day of work. I'll go coach kids for 2-3 hours. It does not bother me one bit. If anything, it's the best part of it's the best part of my job. I don't see it as a job, but it's the best part of it. It's just when you turn up and these guys like, yeah, coach is here, let's get to work. Like, let's go put in 3 hours of work, and at the end of it, it's like, it was worth every single second of it. And there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with it. You know it yourself. You sacrifice a lot of time with your family for making your channel, for doing all the stuff that you've done previously with this. It's the same with basketball. I've sacrificed a lot of time with my own kids to help other people get to essentially meet their aspirations and their dreams.
Yeah.
The thanks you get at it, it's worth it every time.
And that's brilliant, isn't it? To be giving back to the community, and again, it's all those things we see that people go, oh, that's too cheesy, I don't want to do that. But you know, you're living proof. You know, the feeling you get
cheesy,
from that. No, it's not.
It's not cheesy. It's not. It's being real.
Exactly, you know, and it's something I've stopped doing the last few months or so. Is saying a sentence and then going, you know, I find that a bit cheesy and things, but it is difficult to kind of break out of that thing. But I actually want to help. You know, don't knock me for it. You know, I actually want to help, and there's a lot of people who want to help. You know, everybody I've spoken to on here, including yourself. You know, you want to help, and it's such a great thing to have. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, if that's all right, as we get on for time here, if you're all right for time.
I'm good.
One of them, we'll go personal on one, and then we'll go Gators on the next one. So if you could go back, we'll ask for a traditional end of podcast question here. So if you could go back to when you're 17, 18 and give yourself some advice, or somebody gave you some advice that you wish you'd kind of took and stuck with as your mantra, what would that advice be?
I wish somebody told me to go find somebody who'd made the mistakes already and ask them every single thing that they've done wrong with it. They've gone down that path. Similar to tweet I actually sent you, replied to one of yours last night on. Somebody's been down that path and made them mistakes. So they can guide you away from them. You know, there's no point in you repeating somebody else's mistakes over and over and over. And I get you've got to make mistakes to improve. But if you can avoid them ones and make meaningful ones that are going to have lasting impact further down the road, I wish somebody told me that. Just go find somebody who does what you want to do in the field you want to do it. Pick their brain, not just like, oh, you did this, it was successful because it's like, you can work out yourself why something's successful. Go some, why did this fail? Why did that fail? You know, what would you have done differently? I wish I'd done that from a younger age, because if I think back to it, I had access to guys who would have been great mentors for me. I didn't ask the questions. I wish I had. I really wish I'd actually just gone out and networked more and found out why they messed up, so I wouldn't make the same mistakes down the road.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's an absolutely brilliant take on this kind of success, and everybody's looking for perfection, and unless you're perfect, nobody's ever going to get hired, and this kind of unfortunate image of what the world is.
I'll give you a good analogy that I've been talking to one of my players about it right now. One of the guys about to go get drafted, and I told him to take 3 days off. 3 days off, 72 hours. Like, you take 72 hours off, just rest and recover. He's suffering from neuromuscular fatigue right now. His jump's not as high. But we're obsessed with what I call hustle porn right now. You know, if you're not grinding, you're not well. You know, you sleep, they sleep by grind, that sort of stuff. That's no good for anybody. Everyone wants to be seen to be hustling and working hard and super hard all the time. It doesn't work like that. You look at the very best of the very best. They do take time off. They do take time to relax. They grind for the hours they need to grind. You get what I'm saying with it? They set aside that time, right? I've got to work, but then they set aside that time where work doesn't exist. Work doesn't exist anymore. I think we're stuck in a society right now that you've got to be working all the time, and people want more and more from you for less and less. I think it's about time that actually, not just workers, but people in general, they start to take care of themselves more. And that's another piece of advice I wish I'd been told, is that you don't have to grind 24/7 to be successful on it. But when you do grind, make sure it's the most meaningful time you've actually ever put in. But if you can do it in 3 hours, do it in 3 hours instead of taking 6-7 hours over it. Just try and say, you know, actually, I'm working real hard here. I wish somebody said that to me as well.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you for saying it to other people, and I hope that people watching, listening go, oh, you know what, I might actually do that, and go and ask those questions and look after yourselves. And it's a long journey, isn't it? If you're going to be an athlete, it's, this belief of, oh, you only do it for 10 years. No, there's a bit more to it if you're going to be an athlete than just, well, you had your 5 years in the pro leagues, that you're done. There's a lot more to it. And certainly in terms of other careers, it's a long journey to as you progress through life. So you've got to take that time to look after yourself and seek that advice. So, where are we finding out more about Saigon Gators? I'll obviously put all the links out. We'll put them on this video. We'll be, down here and stuff like that. Where are we going for Saigon Gators basketball? Then we can follow you like this week, next week, and then as you go through the next few years.
Well, right now we're only on Instagram and on YouTube. So on YouTube, you find it at Saigon Gators Basketball, and on Instagram, you find it at SGN Gators Basketball. So shorten the Saigon part of it down a little bit. It used to be Saigon Gators, but that old account got hacked, as I mentioned earlier. And it's sad that we live in a world like that where people want to hack the basketball program's Instagram, but it happens, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It does. And, I'm sorry that it
says
it's you, but
yes, it's a setback for a comeback is the way we look at it.
Exactly.
For a comeback.
Yeah, and it hasn't really cancelled your basketball program, has it? So
it made absolutely zero impact today. It just meant we lost some very nice pictures and some very nice memories, but we all still remember them days.
That's it. Well, it looks like you're on the verge of making some new ones, to be perfectly honest with you. And I look forward to seeing them, and I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. So stay on the line. We'll say a proper cheerio in a minute. But for now, Rob, thanks for talking business, mate. I really appreciate it, and some great wisdom and advice and insights. And we'll see you again, maybe in a year. Let's do one every year.
Every year. Maybe I might actually be on the beach this time.
That's right. Yeah, that's the challenge. All right. Next year, we've got to be sand and everything. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, take it easy, and we'll say cheerio. And thanks for talking business. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, it always seems like I can never say thank you enough. So, Rob, cheers. Thank you. Much appreciated. Really grateful that you were able to give up the time to chat to me here, even if you were close to the beach and seemingly having quite a nice day of it. But thanks, because your advice and your honesty really is something that students can take on, listen, and hopefully learn from as well. So, Rob, cheers. Let's do it again sometime. And for everybody else listening and watching, then please feel free to say hello on all the social media channels. You can have a look for Pardo's Business, Mr. Pardo's Business. You can say hello on Twitter and Instagram, and find us on YouTube as well as this podcast. So thanks very much. We'll see you again on another episode of Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. Bye-bye. Cheerio.